That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I am very excited to talk about some must-add running backs here because I think we have guys that are literally possibly league winners based on how their situations shake out through this week. So, of course, we're going to talk about those high upside guys. And I actually have an extra player at the very end of this video that I think is very intriguing for those deeper formats. So make sure you stick to the end. But you know what we have to do here. We're going to go through and give away some more Flock fantasy hats. I mean, we're giving away multiple every single video. We make multiple videos a day. So how we are giving away these hats is for one giveaway, just a random comment left on the YouTube video that was recorded right before this. So we actually just premiered the video on Sunday night, and the comment that was chosen was Eduardo. Doesn't even mention anything about a hat, so hopefully he likes it. But he says, should I drop Trey Sermon for Tony Pollard? We're talking Tony Pollard in this video, so we'll get to that in 1 second. Here we're talking Trey Sermon at the very end as well. So please message me with the email down there in the description of the video to claim your hat. And also our other one is brought to you by someone who used promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy and made that $10 deposit, got the max deposit bonus with promo code FLOCK. Also, you actually get to come out and get into some fantasy drafts with me. We're going to continue to do fantasy drafts throughout the entire season. They have some very beatable player props that we've been showing y'all on our sports betting channel every week. So this is going to be tomorrow, and we're not going to show the rest of the email because I don't want y'all spamming his email. So yes, please just email fantasyflocknetwork@gmail.com with some confirmation. That way I can get you those hats ASAP. And yeah, that should be it. Let's go through and let's talk about these must-add running backs. And the first guy that we're going to be talking about here will be Sony Michel. And now with Sony Michel, I have to be completely transparent. We are recording this on Sunday night, so we do not have the full extent of this Darrell Henderson injury. Of course, we'd be a lot more willing to say exactly how much fab you should be spending on Sony Michel, exactly how aggressive you should be in pursuing him, but we really have to wait to hear what we're going to have from Darrell Henderson. I just want to go through and illustrate the case and why Sony Michel is a great pickup. And the first thing I want to discuss is this overall Los Angeles Rams offense. I mean, this is an offense that looks like it could possibly lead the NFL in overall points if it isn't for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just being so dominant. I mean, here with Matthew Stafford, it looks like this is the exact quarterback that Sean McVay needed to be able to go out there and really build a just juggernaut offense. This is a fantastic team. Of course, you're going to want the feature down running back on a team that is this caliber. And also, you're looking at the other running backs in this backfield outside of Sony Michel. Guys like Xavier Jones, I mean, a name that we have not brought up since the Cam Akers injury when a lot of people thought he was going to be the running back 2 on the team. They go out and they intentionally trade for Sony Michel to bring more depth into this situation. I thought it was a good price that they paid for Sony Michel. And we have to remember, while yes, Sony Michel has been very disappointing so far in his NFL career, that's mainly based on the expectations that you had with Sony Michel as a first-round pick coming out of Georgia. It's not like Sony Michel is the worst running back in the NFL. He's actually above replacement level. I mean, all those running backs that you're seeing the Baltimore Ravens throughout there as of now. I mean, you got guys like Latavius Murray, Tony Jones. I mean, even throw in Devontae Freeman. I mean, you know Sony Michel's a caliber over those players considering the fact that he never hit the open market. He was always going to be someone that had to be acquired through trading. Keep in mind the contract that he's getting paid as well and being that first round draft pick. So you really have to bake in Sony Michel on the team investment standpoint for the Los Angeles Rams. It is a tier ahead of what you actually have from just an average running back. So I think with Sony Michel, if you're viewing him, of course, we have to talk about the good and the ugly. And to start it off with the good, I mean, this is a running back that has been very efficient on a yards per carry basis. Now, yards per carry is a very bad statistic to look at with that and that alone by trying to judge how a running back operates in his offense, because we have to understand that a running back, his production mainly is actually driven by the play of the offensive line, as well as the matchup that you can find with driving that efficiency. Of course, the running back has to be talented to get the touches in the first place. I think we can safely say that Sony Michel does have that talent to be able to get those carries and lead this backfield, and nobody's going to be surprised if he comes out and he's getting 20 carries a game if Darrell Henderson is missing some time with that rib injury, just knowing that we have seen Sony Michel do it before. And I mean, here was Sony Michel. If we're going over talking about the ugly, let's first talk about the fact that this is a running back that is getting no usage in the receiving game whatsoever. Now, I will say, if we go back to that 2018 NFL draft, a lot of people thought Sony Michel was going to be a receiving running back coming into the NFL based on the fact that in Georgia, Nick Chubb was used as the first and second down guy, while Sony Michel was used a little bit more in the Alvin Kamara role. And it's crazy to remember how people were thinking about these running backs, because of course, Sony Michel has proven in New England that he's not that great pass catcher, but they have shown him in the preseason before in a passing down role. This is kind of how they highlighted him before they traded him to the Los Angeles Rams. So maybe there's slightly more receiving upside than what you had in New England. I think we can say that there's a small chance that they just pigeonholed him into that first and second down running back role. And now here, the other bad thing that we have to say is with Sony Michel, it does not matter if Darrell Henderson is ruled out for week 3 or not, because they're going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the last thing you can do is start a first and second down running back going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in week 3, knowing that the Buccaneers have an elite run defense. To go along with this, the Buccaneers have a great team where they should be winning the majority of the game. So you're actually going to have the Los Angeles Rams most likely having a skew to be a little more pass happy. So yeah, it's not going to be a good matchup whatsoever. I think week 4 against the Arizona Cardinals, that's where you could actually start Sony Michel if Darrell Henderson does miss that time. But regardless, I think Sony Michel, even if Henderson comes back, could be a very intriguing pickup as just a running back that's an injury away in one of the best offenses in the NFL, which I think we can safely say that the Los Angeles Rams, they're falling into that category based on what we have had the past 2 weeks. So now let's go to the storyline of the week. Not going to be available in all of your leagues. He's actually rostered in 51%. So it's a 50-50 on if he's available in your format. And I'll say if your league mates know what they're doing, you don't have access to him. But Tony Pollard this week coming out, and no, there was not an injury to Ezekiel Elliott, but Tony Pollard just showing that all the reports coming out of Dallas this training camp, they were true. It looks like Tony Pollard does have a large role in this offense, and I'm surprised by this. Now, I've heard these reports, and I was actually drafting Tony Pollard in drafts strictly as a pure handcuff running back to Ezekiel Elliott, because you can go back to 2020, and we have games looking at Tony Pollard where he does get over 20 carries, he does get over 20 touches, and we know a role like that with the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, with the Dallas Cowboys offense in general, that would be a ton of value going to that one running back if Tony Pollard did step into a role with an Ezekiel Elliott injury. But now it looks like Tony Pollard is a little bit of the best of both worlds. And this is always what we are talking about at the running back position, because y'all know I really advocated for y'all to, whenever you got that stud running back, if you drafted Christian McCaffrey, if you drafted Dalvin Cook, to go through and be willing to load up on an elite tight end, get a bunch of elite wide receivers. Be the guy to go through, draft Darren Waller in the second round, to get AJ Brown or Keenan Allen in the third, to just continue to hit those wide receivers in the middle rounds, and be willing to just wait a little bit on your running back too and try to figure that out during the season. And Tony Pollard's a perfect running back for a construction like that, and that now we're viewing him as someone that will have that role on his offense almost guaranteed. He is someone that you can start if you're playing in a format where you need to play a running back too, and you're going through the bye weeks, and all of a sudden you're not comfortable with any of your other options. So Tony Pollard's floor just went from pure handcuff to startable if you need the depth. It's fantastic what you have from Tony Pollard. Also, he looked incredible this week. The efficiency was through the roof. We know that he's always going to have the receiving down usage as well. He came away with 13 carries, 109 rushing yards. 109 rushing yards off of 13 carries. Looked damn good while he did it. He came away with a rushing touchdown at the same time. That is very important, because one thing we're unsure with Tony Pollard is the exact touchdown upside we have. We actually know that he's going to be a great receiving running back. That's never been in question. He comes out and confirms that with 3 receptions, 31 receiving yards. And Ezekiel Elliott, on the other hand, actually had more carries, but it's not by much. Ezekiel Elliott had 16 carries, 71 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown, 2 receptions, and 26 yards. So this backfield was split 50-50. Tony Pollard outscored Zeke this week. And of course, you do not want to be taking Tony Pollard over Ezekiel Elliott. They're not even in the same tier for me rest of season. But this does have to get you a lot more excited about Tony Pollard. And now our third running back is honestly not really even a running back. This is definitely for much deeper formats. Actually, you know what? Let's not talk about him right now. We'll talk about him near the end of the video. Instead, let's give you a name that more of y'all are going to be familiar with. Let's go with J.D. McKissic here as our fourth running back. Now, J.D. McKissic, no, he did not play on Sunday, but we did see him out there on Thursday night, and he looks like he is taking away all the upside for Antonio Gibson. I'll be the first person to admit that I really like drafting Antonio Gibson in drafts this year based on the thought process that this was a running back that we knew was a good running back on first and second downs, that he was a former wide receiver in college. So if he could take over that role from J.D. McKissic, he would have that elite level upside. Well, J.D. McKissic heard that analysis and went, well, Mason, that's pretty cute, but I mean, stop living in fairyland, wherever the hell that is. Let's just stay in the real world. In this world, we have J.D. McKissic having 5 receptions this past week, 83 receiving yards at the same time. Now, I will say that a lot of people are going to look at the fact that he had a rushing touchdown. He had a touchdown inside the 10-yard line. He only came away with 4 carries and 10 rushing yards here. But that rushing touchdown, do not think that all of a sudden J.D. McKissic is stealing the goal line usage from Antonio Gibson. This is the one caveat I want to be putting out there with J.D. McKissic, and that with McKissic, it's more so that this was an offense that was in the 2-minute drill. It was at the very end of the first half that J.D. McKissic ended up running that in. I mean, he was out there just because they were in the 2-minute drill. Now, it really sucks that they don't swap in Antonio Gibson once they get closer to the goal line, but it makes sense why they didn't. It's not like they were on the one when J.D. McKissic ran that in. And I know J.D. McKissic is someone that we've been talking about a considerable amount. So I was surprised to see that he's currently only rostered in 25% of leagues. J.D. McKissic is definitely obtainable in a lot of places. Now, one running back that I would prefer slightly more is going to be Zack Moss. And here's Zack Moss. Talk about being surprised for a running back not being owned that much. It's a running back that is owned in 37% of leagues, 37.6% of leagues to be exact. So I'm assuming that a lot of those that he is owned in, I mean, they're more so going to be those leagues that are 12-man formats, and then you're probably going to have him in the 10-man leagues hitting the waiver wire based on him being inactive in week 1. But we actually talked about this going into week 2, and that we had the reports coming out of Buffalo saying the reason why Zack Moss was inactive was strictly out of injury precaution. And now that we are seeing Zack Moss good to go, I think he's definitely a great pickup to have, because you are looking at Zack Moss and you're saying, okay, well, at the end of the day, while yes, this is a running back that's splitting this backfield with Devin Singletary, while yes, Josh Allen's going to take a lot of the value in this offense based on the fact that he's going to be vulturing at the touchdown to go along with this with Josh Allen, we know that he's not going to be checking the ball down to the running backs that often. But Zack Moss, at the end of the day, we kind of said this in draft season, and while I was willing to draft Zack Moss as our running back 4 in a lot of spots, going right back to what we had with Tony Pollard, this is a running back that I think does have just that baseline level expectation, where if we're going through the bye weeks, if you see some injuries in your lineup, you could throw Zack Moss in there as your running back 2, and you're not going to be completely dead in the water. You're at least going to have a small role. And if anything were to occur to Devin Singletary and Zack Moss all of a sudden becomes a 3-down running back and one of the most productive offenses in football, I think you have to be very excited about that situation. So he comes away this week with 8 carries, 26 rushing yards, but more importantly, 2 rushing touchdowns. And this was surprising, to be honest. I mean, with Zack Moss, you just naturally assume that Josh Allen's going to be vulturing away so many of those rushing touchdowns that he very rarely has multi-touchdown upside. So it does suck that he is doing this in a week where nobody started him. I mean, nobody was putting Zack Moss in their starting lineup. I mean, including myself, and I have Zack Moss in a decent amount of leagues. So it sucks that this is when we get it. And another thing I want to point out real quick is 2 receptions for Zack Moss. And I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but the difference between a running back going and averaging 2 receptions, possibly 20 receiving yards, versus half a reception and 5 receiving yards, it's a night and day difference. Just because if you're looking at Zack Moss as a running back that can tack on just an additional 2 receiving yards, and we know that based on how open this offense is going to be, the majority of the time those receptions are going to be coming with decent efficiency. I think that's going to be just raising his overall floor, where when you need to start him as a running back 2, it's not going to be that bad. And also shows us that he does have the upside if anything happened to Devin Singletary to become a pass catching running back. And now our next running back is the guy we referenced earlier, not even a running back. Let's talk about Cordell Patterson here. And with Patterson, he is owned in 0.5% of leagues. So very deep formats. If you're playing in a 10-man league, you're not picking up Cordell Patterson. If you're playing in a 12-man league, I think you can possibly consider it depending on the amount of bench spots that you have. If you're playing in a 14-man league, this is your guy. And here with Cordell Patterson, I mean, you know that we were hating on Mike Davis throughout the entire pre-draft process. And a lot of people are saying, well, Mason, I mean, if it's not Mike Davis, who is it going to be? And I was saying, well, I don't know. I just know it's not going to be Mike Davis because Mike Davis is a very average running back. If you look just throughout his entire NFL career, there are very few things that we can go out and just get extremely excited about. And here with Cordell Patterson, I mean, he is kind of proving that to be true. Mike Davis gets 9 carries and 38 rushing yards, whereas Cordell Patterson comes out and splits his backfield almost 50-50. He gets 7 carries himself. He gets 6 targets himself and 2 touchdowns to go along with it. When they were in the red zone, Cordell Patterson was in there. And this is back-to-back weeks that we have seen this usage with Cordell Patterson. It's very surprising. I was not expecting it in the slightest, to be honest. I thought possibly Wayne Gallman was going to be seeing some usage in this game, not Patterson. But no, it's great for Patterson. I think it's honestly pretty good for the Atlanta Falcons offense as well, because Mike Davis is not a running back that I think is extremely talented. So it's a deep call, but I think now Cordell Patterson, if you don't want to pick him up, it's fine, but at least put him on your watch list. Now, a running back that I really think you have to consider here, and it's gross, and this is definitely just going to be me telling you, go do your own research. Come out to a live stream. We're live streaming every single night. Just make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You hit that bell, and then we can give you some updates on this running back. But we're recording this on Sunday night. There's a lot of uncertainty with this situation. JaMycal Hasty, who is rostered in 1.5% of leagues right now. You're looking at JaMycal Hasty and you're going, well, yeah, I mean, not a talented running back at all. But you have this entire situation for the 49ers just falling apart, where Elijah Mitchell with a shoulder injury. Now, it looks like Elijah Mitchell could be good to go this upcoming week. So, of course, it's going to be something that we have to monitor. Trey Sermon looks like he possibly has a concussion. And JaMycal Hasty, on his own right, has an ankle injury to go along with this. So every running back is injured in this backfield as of now. And you're looking at it going, okay, well, with Raheem Mostert out for the year, they're going to be desperate to give one of these running backs some touches. I think that you could be living in a world just a week from now where possibly you have Elijah Mitchell out. And one thing that I want to point out, and this is something that we just have to take the L on. I mean, y'all know that Trey Sermon was a running back that I was saying we definitely weren't starting him this week, knowing that Elijah Mitchell was going to be the lead running back, but I thought there was a chance that Trey Sermon was going to be able to continue to grow his role in the offense. And by the time we got to the fantasy football playoffs, Trey Sermon would be a very exciting running back. Well, Trey Sermon was playing behind both Elijah Mitchell and JaMycal Hasty. I mean, Trey Sermon did not get into the game until you saw an injury for the running backs in front of him. And here, JaMycal Hasty actually got a decent amount of usage in the receiving game as well, where if you're looking at it, he came away with 5 carries, 4 receptions, and 59 total yards. So just knowing that this offense is going to be a pretty damn good one. I mean, you're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and while, yes, they were able to slow down the 49ers, they weren't able to completely take them out of it. And also, that Eagles defense completely shut down and limited the Atlanta Falcons to nothing in week 1. I think that's a defense that you have to give a decent amount of credit for. The 49ers have looked great so far. I think JaMycal Hasty does have a potential path to be the lead running back. And, I mean, at the end of the day, are we going to say that Elijah Mitchell is that much more of a talented running back than JaMycal Hasty? If Elijah Mitchell can be productive, I really think anybody can be productive in that situation. Now, thank you again for coming out and watching this video. I really hope y'all enjoyed it. Make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment to get entered into the Flock giveaway. And also, if you want to get entered into that giveaway, making that $10 deposit on Underdog Fantasy once gets you entered in every single video from now until the rest of the time. So make sure you go through, make that one-time deposit on Underdog Fantasy with $10. Come get in some drafts with us. Go bet some player props. Get a max deposit bonus with promo code FLOCK. And nothing supports this channel more. And yeah, that's all I got for you. And have a great day.